Welcome to Ben's Bench. This is a channel where I'll be providing information, commentary, and clarification on hot-button topics in the law. I was going to start with a video explaining the Constitution, but there's another topic that I thought was more pressing and time-sensitive, so I'm going with that instead. There have been stories in the news lately about an Ohio judge that ordered a hospital to administer ivermectin to a COVID-19 patient. Now, this may not have been the right decision from a medical standpoint, but the headlines are sort of demonizing this judge, implying that he forced this controversial course of treatment onto a patient. Now, zooming in, it is true that the judge ordered the hospital to administer ivermectin, but that is the destination, that's the center. If we zoom out a little bit, there are two general ways to think of that. One is the one that I already said, ordering a course of treatment for a patient. But there's another one, and I'll explain what that is. Jeffrey Smith is a man in Ohio who was diagnosed with COVID-19 in July and eventually admitted to the hospital where he was treated, and I don't need to get into the specifics, but he was eventually sedated, intubated, and placed on a ventilator. The probate court made his wife Julie his legal guardian and authorized her to make medical decisions on his behalf. She asked the hospital to administer ivermectin, and it refused to do so. So she went out and got a prescription from another doctor for ivermectin and brought that to the hospital, and it still refused to administer the drug. She filed a lawsuit in court asking a judge to issue an order forcing the hospital to administer the drug. Now, this is where my commentary gets a little bit tricky, because going off of the dates, I can only see the complaint and then the order. I'm recording this video on September 2nd, 2021. Just today, the hospital did file an answer and a memorandum of law explaining why it shouldn't have to administer this drug. However, since that memorandum was filed after the order that the judge issued, I can't really take it into account when I comment on the order itself because it came after the judge issued the original order. The only thing that I can really go on is the complaint and what the order says. So the complaint boils down to this. The wife is the legal guardian of the husband. She has a prescription for a medication. She wants the hospital to administer it, and it is not doing so. The order, which doesn't list any statutes or case law explaining the reasoning why the judge is issuing the order that he's issuing, simply says that the hospital has to comply with the wishes of the guardian. It is also worth mentioning that in the complaint, the wife says that she offered to sign a release, essentially saying that the hospital would not be liable if the medication made him worse. So from what I know about this case, at least as far as the complaint and order, which are the subject of the news articles, here's what happened. A woman, who is her husband's legal guardian, asked the hospital to comply with a prescription for a medication. It refused to do so, so she filed suit. The judge then said, "You have to do this." Now, whether it was the wrong decision or the right decision as a matter of law isn't what we're here for. What we're here for is to examine the biases that these headlines are creating. Judge forces medical treatment on a patient. But that's not really what happened. The judge didn't force anything on the patient. The judge ordered the hospital to comply with the wishes of the patient's guardian. So the headline really should read, "Judge orders hospital to carry out guardian's wishes for patient's medical care." But that's not a shareable headline that draws in readers. News outlets write headlines to get your attention, but sometimes the headlines, even though they are true, they don't lead you to the right conclusion. So this video not only was my way of explaining what actually happened in this case, at least from the complaint and order stages, but it's also my way of telling you that when you see a sensational headline like that, try to read the article, or if it's the case of some legal case, try to find the case. They're available online. And instead of assuming the worst about the judge, think about the generality. Zoom out and try to think of the ways that they might have gotten there. Judges don't just issue the orders that they believe to be right. Imagine the world we would live in if any judge could just decide what everybody had to do based on what he or she thought was the appropriate course of action. Judges are there to apply the law. And sometimes it can get messy, but once they reach a result, there's a reason behind it. In this case, the reason was that there was a valid prescription and a guardian asking it to be given. I have to believe that this case would have come out differently if there had been no prescription from the other doctor and she had just asked them to give him this drug. That would be a reasonable refusal, in the same way that it would be reasonable for a hospital to say no if a person walked in off the street and just asked for a prescription for Vicodin. But here she already had the prescription. She had it from another doctor, and the hospital would not administer it. The bottom line is that this judge did order a hospital to administer ivermectin. Not because it's ivermectin and not anything else, but because that's what the patient's guardian wanted. Well, I hope this has been educational. There will be many more of these to come, but until next time, we're adjourned.